Free agency is right around the corner. Let's go ahead and preview this year's 2025 tight end free agency class. Starting off, that guy at the very top there that's cut off, that's Tyler Conklin. Conklin settled in nicely as the Jets tight end number one. He was actually one of Aaron Rodgers' more reliable targets. The two seem to have a pretty good relationship. Wouldn't be surprised if he tries to follow Aaron wherever he winds up going. Solid tight end. There's not one. There are two guys, I take that back, who I think are top level tight ends. And top is really a loose way to put it. Two guys who I think are unquestioned starters. Really one guy who I think is that top 15-ish tight end in the league. We'll get to him in a little bit. Juwan Johnson's an interesting one. Super athletic, former wide receiver, Penn Stater, transfers to Oregon. He settled in nicely in New Orleans. New Orleans has been kind of weird. They've done a tight end by committee really for the last several years, towards the end of Sean Payton's tenure into this one, where Taysom Hill has taken some snaps there, obviously. Foster Moreau, who I'm a big fan of, he was signed in free agency, not this past season, but the season prior. They've had Adam Troutman there, and they've had Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson, a very good receiver. He leaves a little bit to be desired in the blocking game. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up reuniting with Sean Payton in Denver. Sean Payton has said that he wants a joker, whether that be at the tight end position or primarily at the running back. A lot of people took that as, hey, we're going to go out and get Tyler Warren. Maybe, that's definitely possible, but maybe he goes for somebody who's going to cost a little bit less in terms of capital. Tyler Warren's going to likely be a first-round pick, if not a high second-round pick. Juwan Johnson you could get for much cheaper and not have to give up draft compensation. Mo Alie-Cox has been pretty good. He just found a way to continue to catch touchdowns. He's one of the better tight end twos in the NFL. I'm a fan. Him and Jelani Woods are pretty similar, in my opinion. Jelani Woods, the Giants 6'8" tight end out of Virginia, he hasn't really turned into anything quite yet. It's going to be interesting to see. Chris Ballard, still there. It's still the same regime. Maybe you bring back Mo Alie-Cox. Durham Smythe, he was drafted the same year as Mike Gesicki, actually. The Notre Dame tight end. He's been a tight end too his whole entire career. Really more of a blocking tight end. He was the longest tenured Dolphin this past season. He's now a free agent, and he does not have to wait till the new league year. He is eligible to sign right now. Definitely a good bargain guy. That's really what I think you should try and get out of free agency. You want to find role players. You don't want to find full-time starters, because that's how you're going to end up being overpaying guys, paying guys at like they're a premium. Meanwhile, they're just an above-average starter. Harrison Bryant, he's bounced around, obviously, the former Brown, Pharaoh Brown. I remember Pharaoh Brown said that he was like a top 10 tight end when he was in Houston. That was ridiculous. Austin Hooper finds a way to produce everywhere he goes. It was nice to see him kind of get some more action. When he was in Vegas the year prior, he really just did not see it. When I was talking about the premier guys, I was talking about Zach Ertz and Mike Gesicki, specifically Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz already in my Hall of Very Good. Maybe I just make Zach Ertz our next nominee for the Hall of Very Good. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and check out the page. But if he continues to play at the level he's playing, he does have a chance to be that fringe Hall of Famer. When you look at the other tight ends that have played, his numbers put up pretty well against those guys. Mike Gesicki, back in a starting role this year in Cincinnati, he played well. Obviously, never going to be that premier blocker that you see with a George Kittle or like you saw with a Gronk, but the receiving upside is certainly there. We did our All Love episode today on the podcast where we were just naming things we love. I love old guys sticking around. Jason Peters is a guy who continues to do it. I hope he continues. Mercedes Lewis, same thing. I want him to keep on playing. Keep on stacking the years up. I don't mind. He's obviously has a relationship with Aaron Rodgers. Not really used as a receiver at this point in his career. The guy is 40 plus, but still an above average blocker. Who knows? Maybe he reunites with Aaron Rodgers somewhere. The longtime Jacksonville Jaguar, then pretty long time Packer, and then the last couple of years in Chicago. Not that I really have anything to say, but Kenny Yeboah, he was a guy who I thought was going to be a dog coming out of Ole Miss. He never did anything. Chris Mannard's longtime backup. He's one of the million former Panthers to have played on the Giants. I feel like CJ Uzama, former starting tight end. I would like to see him kind of go back to Cincinnati, even if it is as a tight end 2, tight end 3. I kind of liked him there. Ian Thomas, longtime Panther. Who else we got? Michael Pruitt. I think Michael Pruitt probably comes back to Pittsburgh. I think that him and Connor Hayward will compete for that number 3 tight end role. Who knows? Maybe they keep both of them like they did this year. Arthur Smith, a big fan of Michael Pruitt. Pruitt's been with him in Tennessee and Atlanta. And he actually caught a touchdown pass this year from Russell Wilson. I would have loved to see his anytime touchdown odds. They would have been immaculate. Another Panthers tight end, Tommy Tremble, a guy who didn't really live up to the hype coming out of Notre Dame, but an athletic guy, a guy who you could do a lot worse as your tight end too, and that's really been the case. Nick Vannett, that guy's just found a way to hang around. He started in Seattle, a tight end out of Ohio State. There are a lot of tight ends out of Ohio State in the NFL. Didn't pan out there. He gets traded to the Steelers. Doesn't pan out there, and then he's bounced around pretty much everywhere else. I think he's been in Denver, New Orleans, Tennessee, as you can see right there. Hayden Hurst. I love Hayden Hurst. Really good player. He obviously lost the starting job. I believe he was banged up this year, but Will Dissly really just stepped in nicely. Will Dissly can obviously do more in the blocking game. I would like to see Hayden Hurst. Once again, Hayden Hurst has some upside there. Obviously entered the league super old. He was the first-round draft pick for the Ravens in 2018. It was him and Lamar Jackson. He was actually the first-round pick, Lamar Jackson, coming in at 32. And then, what did the Ravens do? They draft their all-time leading touchdown scorer just a couple rounds later, Mark Andrews. Jody Fortson, an athletic tight end, but I don't really see Travis Kelce's future impacting what they do there with too much. I think Noah Gray is a capable starting tight end. Maybe you bring back Jody Fortson as depth. There are enough holes on Kansas City's team where I don't know if they really need to go out and get a premier tight end. I think Noah Gray is actually probably their best bet.